Sports Radio.
Here comes the siren. I want to go higher. Oh, my goodness. Posey will defend. Oh! LeBron James with no regard for human life.
Pass is intercepted at the goal line by Malcolm Butler. Unreal.
Oh, baby, for sure.
Cabin Sports Radio starts now.
Kobe. Is that how he said it, Mike?
Apparently, yeah.
You think it was a Kobe or was it a Kobe?
Afterwards, yeah.
Oh my God.
I always imagine it right when you release, like right after you flick the wrist. That's when you say Kobe.
I gotta say, I was a little dismayed. Of course, we're talking about the Anthony Davis game-winning three-point shot.
Oh yeah.
Game 2, LA Lakers versus Denver Nuggets. Anthony Davis nails it last second, wins the game. Comes out later that apparently he said Kobe, but it was after the shot.
Yeah, that doesn't count. You got to say it before it goes in.
That's right.
Like when you're throwing a crumpled up piece of paper at the wastebasket.
Yeah.
It just rolls off the tongue. As soon as you release, you flick the wrist. That's when you say it.
You can yell Kobe anytime you want, but
Yeah.
you got to do it mid-shot. I got super pumped when I thought he did it mid-shot.
That would have been really cool.
After is like, that's fine.
As
Yes.
Jokic, who's covering the inbound, slides across, just kind of high-fives him. He was that close on the contest, but he got it off in time, and it was all net. It was beautiful.
Can you imagine, though, if he yelled Kobe in his face
Yeah.
as he was releasing
Yeah.
that shot? Drains it.
Yeah. They were wearing their black Mamba jerseys last night, too. So they said after the game they never want to lose wearing those jerseys. So I'm sure that was a little inspiration, too, after he hit the shot.
Welcome to Cabin Sports Radio, brought to you by Sport North, moving sport forward. It is Coaches Week here in Yellowknife. Speaking of Sport North, for more information, check out sportnorth.com or stay tuned to this very program. We'll be joined by Rita Mercredi, who will tell us all about what's going on with Coaches Week and how you can get involved. But lots to talk about. Of course, the NHL Stanley Cup playoffs are continuing. The Stanley Cup finals happening right now. Game 1 in the books. Dallas up 1-0 currently. The NBA semifinals are happening as well, and we'll check in with that. But there was, I don't know if you saw this, Mike, Saturday. It seemed very quiet. I haven't seen many headlines about it. I just had a little notification pop up on my phone about a State of the Union that Gary Bettman, commissioner of the NHL, did via Zoom the other day, over the weekend. And I'm surprised that it's not bigger news because it tackles a lot of stuff that, even though we're being treated to a pretty entertaining NHL Stanley Cup playoff, all things considered, there's a lot of stuff, of course, going on in the future that is very uncertain. And, I'm just surprised that this wasn't more headline news. But I thought I would take a little gander at a few of the main points that he touched on, as reported by Pro Hockey Rumors, the most trusted source in Pro Hockey Rumors, of course.
Of course.
So a few points that came up. There's no firm timetable in place for the start of next season. Of course, that is a big question mark.
Yes.
Originally, they thought that when this bubble system of the NHL playoffs resumed, that perhaps the start of next season would be pushed back to December. Now they're thinking late December, early January. So that is probably going to be the case, but obviously no firm date has been set for that yet. Also, there's been speculation, and this is the first that I've actually heard about this. There's speculation about a possible Canadian division next season to reduce the amount of out-of-country travel.
Interesting.
Understandably, Gary Bettman did not want to speculate on that, but added that they are considering all possibilities at this point. I think at this point that is really all you can say because we really don't know where things are going to go with regards to the Canada-U.S. border, travel restrictions, all that, second wave, yada, yada, yada. We don't know how things are going to shake down, so it's really hard to fault Gary Bettman for not shedding a little more light on that, but I am very interested to hear more about that, a Canadian division, what that would look like, what that would entail, and that's an interesting idea that just had never really occurred to me before. The NHL, of course, everyone knows, is very gate-driven. A lot of questions about what is going to happen next year with regards to crowds. Of course, we know the NFL regular season has started with limited capacity crowds, fans distanced. He shed a little bit of light on that, saying that there is a strong possibility that they will start next season without live crowds, and then, depending on how things go, perhaps start bringing in crowds as the season progresses. And again, just kind of keeping an eye on how things are going with regards to COVID-19. The expanded playoff format, which of course was I think we all kind of assumed it was a one-time thing.
Totally.
This year, the 24-team playoff format. It's been a lot of fun to watch. It's been pretty exciting for a lot of those teams that were kind of bubble teams heading in. But I think, we pretty much all knew that ideally that was going to be a one-time thing.
Right.
And Gary Bettman, that's basically the one thing he did confirm, that they will be going back to the traditional 16-team format next season. Focus remains on playing an 82-game campaign in 2020-2021 as of right now. I didn't know this. Apparently, there are many regional television contracts that have numbers built in, 82 games with penalties if they play fewer than that many.
Okay.
No idea that was a thing. Obviously, that was the case this year. But, kind of interesting because NBC has the rights to the Olympics, which are scheduled to start July 22nd, which, with the NHL saying in January that they were interested in taking part in the Olympics this year, they were working towards making that happen. That is kind of a possible target end date for the following season's Stanley Cup playoffs. Of course, this or next year will be delayed from its usual end time. That is not expected to affect the Seattle Kraken's inaugural season,
right,
which will be 2021-2022.
Yeah.
And finally, I think the least interesting thing that was touched on, at least from a fan's perspective, probably a little more of intrigue from a sponsor perspective, the 2021 Winter Classic, which is supposed to take place in Minnesota this year. They're not 100% sure what's going on with that. All the plans are going to be geared towards hoping that happens. However, obviously, live attendance is still very much up in the air. And, well, quite frankly, there's not really that much point of doing a Winter Classic if you can't have a live crowd.
No.
So, normally, I think people get very upset with Gary Bettman and his kind of wishy-washiness. He likes to keep things intentionally vague until there is a guaranteed answer, and everything has been shored up for obvious reasons. But I think this is probably the first year in his reign as commissioner of NHL where you can pretty much forgive him for not shedding much more light than he already did. So there you go. There's a roundup of the NHL's State of the Union address, how things are going, where they expect things to go. That took place on Saturday, but we are getting way ahead of ourselves because there are actually live sports happening right now.
That's right.
So let's take a look at that, Michael. CSR News.
This will be the first time Gary Bettman presents a Stanley Cup and isn't booed. I should have led with that.
No. You know what? They're going to have to pipe in boos for him. Yeah.
I feel like even he would sort of respect that.
Yeah.
And almost expect it.
Yeah.
Can he go into any building, any public building, and not get booed?
Normalcy.
Does he even get booed? Like, for instance, the NHL awards.
Yeah.
When it's all peers. I wonder if he even gets booed for those two. Poor guy.
We're all craving normalcy.
He's just trying to make it work. I think as I transition into the Stanley Cup Finals, I think I read on the Twitterverse over the weekend as well, I think the NHL has administered something like 30,000 COVID-19 tests.
Oh, yeah.
All come back negative.
Awesome.
That's in the last 9 weeks or so when they've been in their respective bubble cities. Now, of course, in Edmonton. Another little fun tidbit about Edmonton, as you were talking about the NHL's plans for next year, the World Juniors is confirmed.
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah,
also will be in a bubble in Edmonton, which is some exciting news. December 26th to January 5th or something like that, bleeding into 2021. Always a great spectacle that time of year.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we'll get to look forward to the NHL season and most likely the NBA season resuming right around that time, too. I imagine they'll sort of be rolling out around the same time. But, of course, like you said, we got some play going on right now. And just like you and I predicted, we've got the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Dallas Stars in the Stanley Cup Final with Dallas leading 1-0.
Yeah, we predicted that, I think, exactly when Dallas was within one game of heading to the Stanley Cup Final.
Yes. Yeah, that's right.
Bold
That's right.
predictions here on Cabin Sports Radio.
Yeah. So since then, of course, Tampa dropped one game. The Islanders got one more on them. But no real surprises after last week with Tampa and Dallas, respectively, moving on to the Stanley Cup Final. And the Stars, really, on the back of their netminder, Anton Khudobin, has been playing out of his mind. They had no business winning Game 1, being outshot 36-19, as has been the story throughout this postseason. He's been their best player, but getting some good production from other guys. But really, Dobby, as they call him, is his new nickname.
I only saw that today for the first time. What an
there's
awful
a house
nickname.
elf. There's a house elf on
That's
his
a Harry
mask.
Potter
That's
thing.
right,
Yeah,
of
yeah.
course, on his mask. So I'm sure it's a play on word with the last syllable of his last name being Dobin. So he's Dobby. But wow, he is playing. I'm sure somewhere we've probably got some Conn Smythe rankings. And if Dallas wins, he's got to be at the top of that list.
I mean, you got to think so. I don't think the Dallas Stars have even one player in the top 10 playoff scorers right now. I think Jamie Benn is the leader, and he might be 10th.
Yeah.
But that's not how they're getting it done. They're getting it done with the entire unit.
Yes.
Just getting it done. And of course, Anton Khudobin. An absolute Cinderella story. And I mean, he's got to be, like you say, if Dallas does win the Stanley Cup, he's got to be the front runner for the Conn Smythe.
Absolutely.
But talk about your all-time unsexy Conn Smythe candidates.
Yeah.
There's just something about a 34-year-old career backup. I mean, it's a great story.
Yeah, it is.
But it's not like, handing the Conn Smythe to Jamie Benn.
Yeah.
Or Tyler Seguin or someone
Who's
like that.
been absolutely invisible.
He's been quiet. Yeah. Even Uncle Alex. Love to see him win the Conn Smythe Trophy.
Yeah.
But, you got to hand it to Khudobin. Man,
Yeah.
he is, he absolutely deserves to be the top ranking.
Yeah.
Alternatively, if Tampa, and I do fully expect the Tampa Bay Lightning to figure it out, solve Khudobin, and they're still my prediction to win the Stanley Cup. In
That's
which
the first
case,
prediction you've offered, I think, this postseason.
It might be.
We've been burned so much.
We've been, hurt many times in the past.
It's been rough.
You got to think Andrei Vasilevsky is alternatively the front runner for the Tampa Bay Lightning. Not a great showing in Game 1. I think only stopped 15 of 19 shots, something like that. But they were all really good scoring chances. Those saves that he did make were spectacular saves. And so, obviously the Lightning, they'll figure it out. They'll tighten things up. But, Dallas Stars.
I know.
Just continue to surprise.
Hopefully, for Tampa's sake, gets a little healthy, too. John Cooper has been pretty mum, but it sounds like Stamkos is really close to a return, which would obviously be a huge boost for Tampa Bay to get their captain back. Braden Point has had his struggles with injuries as well. Talking about potential Conn Smythe candidates, Point and Hedman, they're right up there too with Andrei Vasilevsky.
Kucherov right there,
of course, who have all played, sort of again by committee. But when push comes to shove, they've got more all-star caliber type players and guys that are giving them really good production. So that would just be an extra boost for them if they get their captain back into the fold. And John Cooper's been pretty coy with the media, but it really seems like they're expecting him back very, very soon. Maybe even as early as tonight. It's game 2 tonight.
Game 2 tonight. Yeah.
It's
It's almost like Cooper was doing some NHL promo or something like that. Because I think
tuned.
all he said is, you'll have to tune in and find out. Oh,
I know.
There's some clickbait from John Cooper.
Oh, yeah. Which would be a huge boost for them. I agree with you. I still do expect Tampa to figure things out. They're just such a sound hockey team, front to back, with Vasilevsky, Hedman, and then all the firepower you could ask for up front. But then again, in Dallas, they are a scrappy team.
Absolutely.
Really key additions with Pavelski and who's been quite productive.
Yep.
Maybe not so much on the scoreboard for someone like Corey Perry, but he's always in the mix. They've got a good team. They've got a scrappy team. And that once they get a lead on someone, they're not going to give it up.
Yeah.
But there is, if there's a team that can score better than anyone, it is the Tampa Bay Lightning. And if they can get off to some hot starts and get to Dobby early, I agree with you. I think they can turn this thing around pretty quick.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, big news out of the NHL as well. We were looking forward to this last week.
Yes.
The NHL awards rounded out with Leon Draisaitl taking home his first Hart Trophy as league MVP. Roman Josi of the Nashville Predators winning the Norris Trophy. I don't know why, but I was thinking, heading into this, I was thinking of Roman Josi as kind of the dark horse to win that. I don't know why. I took a look at his stats. He had a career year, had something like 65 points.
Yeah.
What is it
16 goals, I think.
65 points in 69 games. Actually, him and John Carlson both had career years despite the shortened NHL season. John Carlson, 15 goals, 60 assists, 75 points in 69 games. I think probably the difference being that Roman Josi doesn't have arguably the greatest goal scorer of all time to pass to.
That's right.
But nevertheless, congratulations to Roman Josi for his first Norris Trophy. First Norris Trophy? I think it's his first.
And fun fact, the first ever Swiss-born player to win an individual NHL award.
There you go. Yeah. Good stuff. Elsewhere, Connor Hellebuck, a much-deserved Vezina Trophy. Was so happy to see that one. And there was one more, wasn't there? Or was that it? Oh, I think it was just Leon Draisaitl winning the
that was previously announced. The Ted Lindsay.
No, I think you're right. I think it was Ted Lindsay.
Yeah. So that's one of them as voted by his peers. One of them as voted by the media.
Yeah.
I think I saw some crazy stat for the Vezina Award winner Connor Hellebuck. Something about expected goals against per game, and the Jets were expected to be in the bottom percentile, like 29th in the league or something like that.
Yeah.
And through his heroics only, was able to get that up to 10th or something like that, in the top third echelon for the league anyways. And that's especially impressive when you think about the turnaround that their blue line had before the season. I don't think there are too many surprises. Otherwise, you could probably make a case for someone like Nathan MacKinnon for the Hart Trophy. I think it was a two-horse race there. Obviously, Artemi Panarin had a fantastic first season with the New York Rangers. But I think to both of us, it was a two-horse race there. Maybe, if I could have seen it going to MacKinnon just because he didn't have the type of support. Rantanen and Landeskog both missed pretty significant time. He was the leading scorer by something like 40 points when all was said and done, and the shortened season was cut off. But obviously, Leon Draisaitl was amazing all year long. He's been the best player in all of hockey, arguably for the last couple seasons, pretty much matching the production of his superstar teammate, Connor McDavid. And so he's the first Oiler to win the trophy since him in 16-17. Of course, it was Kucherov who won last year, so really, really good year of hockey for Leon Draisaitl.
The final award announced for Rookie of the Year, Calder Trophy.
Right.
Cale Makar of the Colorado Avalanche.
Yes.
Hard to argue with that one. Obviously, Quinn Hughes, another two-horse race.
Yep.
But Makar he just had the poise of someone who was not a rookie.
Right.
And not to say that Quinn Hughes didn't. He had a fabulous season on the blue line of the Vancouver Canucks, and man, like what a bright future that team has ahead of them.
Yeah.
But Cale Makar just smooth as silk from game one this season, and also a very, very bright future ahead of him. And the Colorado
elevated his
Avalanche.
play during the playoffs, too.
Yeah.
He was outstanding for the Avalanche, and they had a pretty deep run.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
a very good sign, and usually a sign that a player is special if they can increase their production, let alone sustain it when the games get really hard in the playoffs.
Absolutely. All right, so let's talk some NBA, Mike.
Yeah, Kobe. Yeah, so the Los Angeles Lakers up 2-0 now in their Western Conference Final against the Denver Nuggets after a 105-103 win in Game 2 last night. A little bit of back and forth at the end of the game between the two big men for both teams, respectively. Nikola Jokic of the Nuggets and Anthony Davis. I think Jokic scored the last 13 points for the Nuggets.
Wow. And
Davis scored the last 11 for the Lakers. And people are going to say, the LeBron naysayers, he was carried by Anthony Davis. Well, it was really a tale of two halves. LeBron scored the first 12 points of the game, I think, for the Lakers. Had a really good first half, 20 points. And Anthony Davis came on really strong late and was able to seal it with a pretty epic buzzer beater. And there have been some good 3-point buzzer beaters this playoffs. But with his team down 2 seconds left on the clock, inbound pass from Rajon Rondo on a really bad defensive miscue from the Denver Nuggets, which was really unfortunate, especially after they made a defensive substitution to get Mason Plumlee in the game on the last play. There was a screen that never happened and a switch that he called for after a screen that never happened, and it left Anthony Davis pretty wide open for that final shot, and all you need is a 0.2 of a second is what they say to get a shot off, and he had 2 full seconds to work with. So a really good shot. They take a huge 2-0 series lead in the Western Conference Final, which I think will be almost insurmountable at this point.
It definitely looked on that last play like they thought, without question, the ball is going to LeBron. There were 2 Nuggets players draped all over LeBron James. He didn't have like any room to breathe.
Yeah.
Goes to Davis, nails the 3. Lakers win the game. You got to give the Nuggets credit for giving the Lakers all they could handle.
Totally.
But in your opinion, do you see this going anywhere other than the Lakers? I mean, maybe not, probably not a sweep.
I don't think so.
The Nuggets will win a game.
Yeah.
They went down to the wire.
Mm-hmm.
They're gonna come out on the positive end of that.
Yeah.
At least for a couple games. But do you see it going any further than that?
No, I don't. I really think the Lakers are going to win this series. I did before it started. Maybe if the Lakers go up 3-1, though, that's when they'll start sweating. Because, of course, the Nuggets have erased 2 consecutive 3-1 series leads, deficits for them, and come back to win. First team in NBA history to do that. But the Lakers are built different. They've got someone who can actually match up with Jokic. But they've earned everyone's respect.
Yeah.
This playoff run. They are a heck of a team. I think they've got 2 guys over the age of 30 on their roster. Jokic is 25. Jamal Murray, maybe 26. Jamal Murray's 23. This team's going to be really good for a long period of time, I think. And especially in that last stretch, Jokic proved without a doubt that he's the best big man in all of basketball right now. There was a sequence where he took Anthony Davis pretty much from the 3-point line and bullied him, backing all the way down to the rim and got an easy hook. And that's against Anthony Davis, who was voted 2nd in Defensive Player of the Year rankings. So one of the best in the league, and he made him look like a high schooler. And then can shoot the rock, too. Is an exceptional passer, maybe the best big man passer we've ever seen. He's just a high IQ winning player. And then you've got someone like Jamal Murray. So they're a very, very good team and shouldn't be underestimated, shouldn't be disrespected. But I just think the Lakers are built differently right now. They're getting really good production out of guys who barely got minutes last series, and Dwight Howard and Rajon Rondo. And then you've got the 2 best standing players in the league right now in LeBron James and Anthony Davis. And like I said, with sort of the LeBron naysayers over the Twitterverse and all the analysts last night saying it wasn't him that hit the big shot, he's the best player in the world.
Yeah.
So, like you said, he's going to draw attention literally if he's doing nothing on the basketball court. And if you watch that last play, he didn't move a foot.
Nope.
But he had Jeremiah Grant calling for another defender to say, hey, come and help me out.
Yeah.
That immediately,
without moving,
with just a gravitational pull, just sucks in 2 defenders for a player who did absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
And leaving the second best player on the team, 1A, 1B, arguably, wide open for an uncontested 3. Props to Jokic for actually making it. He was covering the inbounds pass, but he almost made it to the shooter. But definitely a defensive miscue. But again, that's what happens when you've got the best player on your team. You just command that much respect and attention, and it left one of his guys wide open.
Sometimes it's a good play to know that, anticipate that you are going to be keyed on. Let someone else take the shot.
Yep.
And this is what the Lakers franchise expected when they brought in Anthony Davis. This is exactly why they brought him in. And from LeBron James' perspective, I don't think he's worried about any of the naysayers saying, hey, you weren't the hero.
Yeah.
What's up, bro?
Yeah.
I don't think that enters into LeBron James' psyche at all. Does not rattle him at all. I think he's probably just got to be relieved that for once in his career, he isn't the guy who has to drag this team kicking and screaming all the way to the NBA Finals and possibly to a championship, it's got to be nice for him to just breathe a sigh of relief and say, hey, I am more than happy to let this guy take the shot because I know he's going to hit it.
And that's not to say he has played with some all-star caliber players, some Hall of Fame caliber players in Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh, Kyrie Irving, Ray Allen. He's played with some exceptional players. Shaq, but we're not going to count that. He's well past his prime. But I think the difference now is, and when he won his 3 previous championships, he was unquestionably the top dog, won Finals MVP every time. An interesting conversation to be had now because they really have been kind of 1A and 1B so far. But of course, in the NBA, when it comes time for the finals, they've got a Finals MVP. It's not necessarily like a Conn Smythe where it takes into account, I believe, the whole playoffs,
right?
Which I'm sure there is some consideration there for, because you can't get to the finals if you don't have a great round 1, 2, and 3. But I think there is a conversation to be had now that there is a good chance that someone like Anthony Davis could win Finals MVP if they are successful, go all the way, and are able to, first of all, get past a really good Denver team, and that's not written in stone. And then whoever they face in the final, whether it's Boston or Miami, which could be another really fun series. But there is a conversation to be had there. There is a chance at sort of the twilight of his career. He's 35 years old. He's in his 17th NBA season. And I don't think there would be any shame in a generational player like Anthony Davis potentially winning Finals MVP. I don't think he'd be too rattled if he got his 4th championship. No. But then again, the finals are a whole different animal, and we know what he's capable of. For all we know, he could rattle off 35 a game and will his team to victory on his own.
Although, with that in mind, I mean, obviously, it's a different thing when a teammate is getting the accolades and the celebratory tweets and whatnot. But you did mention to me before the show that apparently LeBron was a wee bit miffed about a different MVP award.
Oh, yeah. So Giannis, capturing his second straight MVP of the league, also won Defensive Player of the Year. So a nice bow on top for an exceptional season for Giannis Antetokounmpo. He absolutely deserved the honors. He had a fantastic season. I think averages of like 29 and 13. But LeBron, quote unquote, pissed when the news came out. He wasn't very happy. I think he received 16 first place votes to Giannis's 83 or something like that. It was a landslide.
Wow.
But, they were the only 2 to receive first place votes, and that was, I don't think, a surprise to anyone. Some others getting consideration: James Harden, Kawhi Leonard, Luka Doncic. But yeah, outside of those 5, I don't think any others were really expected to get some serious consideration. But yeah, he was pretty choked about how those awards are handed out, what the criteria is. I don't think anyone is questioning that he's the best player in the world. Right? I think that's still pretty common knowledge. At the end of the day, he gets wins. He controls the flow of the game, the pace of the game, especially at the point guard position now. And he knows that this is when it matters the most, this time of year. And that's why he always goes further than other guys. So that might have been why he was stung a little bit more, especially that he's still standing and Giannis isn't.
Do you think the Denver Nuggets are sitting there hearing that news that it was announced that Giannis wins MVP and Defensive Player of the Year? LeBron is supposedly upset about it. Do you think they're just sitting back and thinking like, why? Why can't they just hold off on that?
Yeah.
The last thing we need is this guy with a renewed fire lit under him.
Yeah.
Unfortunate timing for the Denver Nuggets, but it is what it is. And alternatively, would be nice to see the now 2-time reigning MVP. Was he Defensive Player of the Year last year too?
No.
Okay.
Who was it last year?
MVP
Rudy
anyway.
Gobert, I believe.
Oh,
who should get it this year too, because he shut down the whole league.
But yes, it will be nice to see the reigning MVP, 2-time MVP, and now Defensive Player of the Year, possibly joining the Raptors next year.
He apparently had a very productive, constructive meeting with Bucks management and ownership last week.
Okay.
They are willing to go into the luxury tax to get him some all-star caliber players and some names.
Hard to say otherwise.
Chris Paul, Victor Oladipo, I'm not sure who they can actually bring in, but he said he can see himself playing 15 years in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, which is, where else would you rather be than Milwaukee, Wisconsin?
Yeah, no better.
So we'll see. But we've heard a lot of guys say this before, and then depart for greener pastures. It should be, and especially if they don't get the contract signed this offseason. If you thought the media frenzy was crazy when LeBron was a free agent, back in 2010, even in 2014, when he came back to the Cavs, it's going to be that all over again. It'll be crazy.
Speaking of the Toronto Raptors, head coach Nick Nurse, contract extension, multi-year deal, about $8 million a year.
Yep.
Last year's coach of the year, this year's coach of the year,
coach of the
right?
year.
Yeah. So that's obviously very exciting. Congratulations to him. And Mike, now is your allotted time to laugh in the face of Kawhi Leonard.
Well, yeah. He will always hold I've been talking to a lot of people about this recently. Of course, he will always hold a very special place in my heart and in the hearts of all Raptors fans. But you can't help but ask at this point, he went exactly as far with the Clippers as the Toronto Raptors did without him. Game 7 of the second round of the NBA playoffs. The Raptors game even more tightly contested than Game 7 was. They got smoked by the Nuggets after blowing a 3-1 series lead. But he, at the end of that season, and there were other reasons too. He wanted to go home, and anyone can respect that.
Yeah.
But there were reports that he said to management in Toronto, "I do not believe this team is good enough to repeat." And I mean, on paper, him leaving to go to the Clippers to team up with Paul George, who is a fantastic regular season player, and then throw in Lou Williams, Montrezl Harrell, who had a really good season, who has apparently also been linked to the Raptors. He followed them on Instagram. That's the new age we live in. Depending on what people do on social media, that's where the rumors start. But they had a really good team in Clipperland, and the sky was the limit, but they didn't quite get there. They mortgaged their entire future for this year and next year, because at the end of next season, both Kawhi Leonard and Paul George are free agents, believe it or not. Short deals in the NBA, and that team does not have a first-round draft pick until 2027. They can start scouting 11-year-olds, Lecter.
That had to have been the most humble, most Canadian in-your-face I have ever heard. Well done, Michael.
Thank you.
Well done keeping it classy.
Yeah.
We will be back on Cabin Sports Radio with Rita Mercredi talking about Coaches Week here in Yellowknife. That's next.
The CSR Podcast.
Cabin Sports Radio brought to you by Sport North, moving sport forward. Coaches Week is an annual program that Sport North facilitates every year. But, as many things have changed, Coaches Week will be no different. I am joined on the show right now by sport consultant over at Sport North, Rita Mercredi. How you doing, Rita?
Good. Thank you for having me.
Happy to have you on the show. It's been too long, quite frankly. If you're not familiar with Rita, you probably have not dealt with Sport North a whole lot. That is fine, but I will let you know that if there is a most outstanding player, a most valuable player at Sport North, it is definitely Rita. She keeps things running on time over there at Sport North. So, Rita, really happy to have you on the show. How's your summer been?
Great. It's been a wonderful summer, but I'm just not really ready for this fall weather yet.
Yeah, I don't think anyone is. And I was trying to kid myself and tell myself that I was ready, but that summer was like the typical Yellowknife summer you always hear about. 2 months, done, into fall. And it's all forgotten about. But anyway, we will get through it. But Coaches Week is just around the corner, so that's what you're here to talk about. First of all, as I alluded to off the top, it's obviously going to look a little bit different because everything in our world looks a little bit different right now. So let us know what is going to be different. How is Coaches Week changing? What can people expect this year?
Well, like you said, like everything else, Coaches Week had to adapt, and we are going strictly online with Coaches Week this year. So there'll be no in-person sessions. We're running all our sessions virtually, whether it's through webinars or Adobe Connect, but all the training will be online. Which is quite different than what we've done in the past. In the past, we've delivered in-person sessions, traveled to the communities and delivered sessions. So this is new for us as well.
Absolutely. And I'm sure that, like everyone else, we've kind of had to take on a bit of a crash course in what exactly this is with doing things virtually rather than the way we are used to. I'm sure you've adapted over there at Sport North. Give us a bit of an idea as to what people can expect with how the courses will be facilitated.
So Coaches Week is going to run from September 19th through to the 27th. It's a national program, so we're celebrating coaches across Canada. Our focus is obviously our NWT coaches, so everything we're offering through this week will be for free. No one will have to pay for anything. We're providing 7 free NCCP courses, again, that can all be done online, and 2 free webinars. And we're very excited about one of the webinars because it's one of 3 that we are developing specifically for NWT coaches. We're working in partnership with CIRC, which is the Sport and Information Resource Center. We canvassed our coaches to see what they wanted to talk about, what they wanted to hear about, and our first NWT Coaches webinar will launch September 23rd at about 12:10 around coaching the multi-sport athlete, which is huge in the North. Andre Lachance from Baseball Canada, Heather Ross McManus from Sports Minded Consulting, and our own Thorsten Gohl from Table Tennis NT will be spearheading that webinar. And so we're really looking forward to that, and we'll have 2 more throughout the course of the year.
And regular listeners to Cabin Sports Radio will certainly recognize, at the very least, the name Thorsten Gohl. We're big fans of him here on Cabin Sports Radio. So the more we can have Thor running courses, I think the better off everybody is. But enough about the differences. We've all had enough of that. The courses themselves, there's a lot of core fundamental stuff in there. And like you said, they're all going to be free for people to take part of, which is awesome. What can coaches look forward to this year with regards to the courses themselves?
So the courses are standard courses other than our webinar that are, developed through the Coaching Association of Canada. It's all part of the programming that they'll need to become certified coaches, whether it's coaches wanting to go to Arctic Winter Games or just wanting to coach locally or wanting to go to Canada Games. This is just the bulk that we're offering right now for free. After this week, those courses will have a fee to take, but we'll continue to offer them virtually until such time that we can all get back together and see everyone's lovely faces in one room and take the courses together.
Okay, so a bit of a rundown. We don't have to go into super detail, but can you touch on what the courses are that are going to be provided?
So we're doing sport nutrition. That's an e-learning one, so you can do that at any time. And we have a coupon code that people can reach out to me and get, and then you can go online and do that one for free. Planning a practice is September 19th and 20th. That's a 2-part course, so you have to take both parts. Managing conflict is September 21st. Make ethical decisions is also September 21st. Manage a sport program and basic mental skills will run on September 22nd. Prevention and recovery will run on September 26th and 27th. Again, that's a 2-part course. So those are the NCCP courses. And then, of course, we'll launch our first NWT Coaches webinar on the 23rd at 12:15. And then we have one final webinar on the 25th, which is again at lunch hour from the Canadian Women in Sport about influencing change. So that's the lineup for that week of free coaching workshops.
Awesome. So a full slate of courses, whether you're a first-time coach or have many years of experience. Absolutely. There is obviously lots that you can take advantage of in there. So where do people register and who can they go to for more information?
So definitely, if they need more info, give me a shout or a quick email. I can help you register and point you in the right direction. If you're coaching already and you have a locker account with coach.ca, then you can always register through that. But you can find everything on our website at sportnorth.com/coaching. And that will give you the registration links and point you where to go and register.
Perfect. All right. So Coaches Week, look forward to it. More info at sportnorth.com or get into contact with Rita herself. She will most certainly point you in the right direction. Rita, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. I really appreciate that.
All right. Looking forward to Coaches Week and looking forward to chatting with you again in the near future.
Awesome.
Rita Mercurity, sport consultant at Sport North. Again, Coaches Week happening right now, actually, right through to September 27th with courses you can register for if you haven't done so already. Check it out, sportnorth.com for more information. And we will be back on Cabin Sports Radio.
The Cabin Sports Radio Podcast, brought to you by Sport North, moving sport forward.
Taking a look at the NFL. I don't know if you saw this, Mike, but ahead of week 2, Bill Belichick, head coach of the New England Patriots, of course, who is generally not exactly friendly.
No, he's a man of few words.
Few words, yeah. And yeah, he generally plays his cards pretty close to his chest.
Definitely.
So it made kind of headline news when ahead of their week 2 matchup against the Seattle Seahawks, he had nothing but the nicest things to say about Russell Wilson, which sparked a debate as to, based on something that Bill Belichick had said, who is better than Russell Wilson in the league right now? Here is his exact quote, and it's lengthy too. He's usually like kind of a 1-2 sentence kind of guy. He could not say enough about Russell Wilson. He said, quote, honestly, I think he's in a way underrated by the media or the fans. I don't know. But I don't really see anybody better than this player. The guy is a tremendous player. He can do everything. He's got obviously great leadership, great playmaking skills. He plays very well in the most critical situations in the game. His decision-making, running, passing. I didn't know this. He's never missed a game.
That's crazy.
In his 8-year career in
Talk
the NFL.
about longevity. Man. Especially in a sport like that, that's really impressive.
For an undersized quarterback, too, who was also notoriously in the last few seasons not exactly had an offensive line in front of him that is really much to write home about. He went on to say his passing numbers are extraordinary. You can put him up against anybody since he's been in the league, literally anybody in almost any category. His winning percentage is impressive. He's there for every game, never missed a game, literally never missed a game. He's got a great ability to do the right thing at the right time. He has tremendous vision, sees the field extremely well, and he wasn't quite done yet.
Wow.
I don't think there's a better deep ball passer in the league. In terms of decision-making and accuracy, he attacks literally every inch of the field. And he did exactly that against the New England Patriots later this past weekend, throwing for 5 touchdowns. And the Seattle Seahawks, just like that, are 2-0. And so that prompted me to take a look around the league and kind of ask the question, should Russell Wilson, now obviously this is he's played 8 seasons. He's in his 9th year. It's still comparatively a small sample size when you're talking greatest quarterback of all time.
Right.
He's obviously got some pretty notable company that he would be up against in that category. Of course, most notably, the now just kind of default greatest quarterback of all time, which is Tom Brady. Everyone just kind of is happy to rest their hat. Tom Brady, greatest of all time. He, of course, is now with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, having a fairly slow start to the season, but at 40 years old, I think you could probably forgive him for that.
They got a win on Sunday, 1-1
They
now?
did get a win on Sunday, So, I mean, that's really all that matters at the end of the day. But so I brought up some career stats to compare him against. So Russell Wilson, again, relatively small sample size. But you look at his career numbers so far, his career record as a starting quarterback is 88-41-1.
Wow.
So he has won just over twice as many games as he's lost. Career quarterback rating of 102.
Wow.
Which is amazing. You compare that against Tom Brady, again, the default, greatest of all time. Brady's career quarterback rating as of right now is 96.9. 97 with the New England Patriots. It's obviously taken a little bit of a dip because of the start that he's having with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, which has been a little bit less stellar. Still 96.9. Pretty incredible career passer rating. And so I took a look around at some of the other quarterbacks that you could compare him to. Of course, for the longest time, it was Tom Brady and Peyton Manning. Those were the longtime arch rivals. It was thought that who is the greatest quarterback of all time? It is going to be one of these two guys. You look at Peyton Manning's career numbers. I kind of forgot that he had such an incredible resurgence with the Denver Broncos, save for his last season.
Totally.
But coming off an entire year in 2011 that he had missed due to neck surgery, he came back and threw for 37 touchdowns and 11 interceptions. If that wasn't good enough, the following year, he followed that up by throwing for 55 touchdowns and 10 interceptions. Peyton Manning, again, did not have the Super Bowl wins. I think that is kind of what sets apart Tom Brady and Peyton Manning at the end of the day. Manning, I think, had 2. I think Brady has 4 career Super Bowl wins.
Well, he's up to 6 now.
He's up to 6.
6. Oh, yeah.
Oh, I'm way behind. But nevertheless, Peyton Manning, career quarterback rating of 101.7. So 0.3 whatever percent behind Russell Wilson. Again, that is also about a 17-year career as opposed to a 8-year career. So, again, keeping in mind, small sample size. Another one that I think should be in the argument. I don't know if he quite gets the love that Peyton Manning and Tom Brady got, but all the while, he was just piling up incredible stats the entire time. Drew Brees.
Yep.
Who has played for about the same number of years as Tom Brady. I think he might be in his 19th NFL career season right now. Of course, longtime quarterback with the New Orleans Saints.
Yep.
Started out with the San Diego Chargers. They were a less than stellar team. Then he moved on to New Orleans, and New Orleans has been a fairly competitive team ever since he's been their gunslinger. 101.3 career quarterback rating as the New Orleans Saints quarterback. 84.9 with San Diego. You could kind of forgive him for that. 98.4 though.
Pretty good.
Career quarterback rating, which is pretty amazing. One that I think doesn't really... So, Aaron Rodgers, I feel like...
Figured his name was coming up.
Yeah, I feel like in some circles he is held up in that regard as one of the greatest of all time.
Yep.
And then there's another section of NFL fans who think he is one of the most overrated quarterbacks of all time. He is the only one of those 3 that currently has a higher career quarterback rating than Russell Wilson at 102.6. Pretty incredible numbers. And he's played about 15-year career for Aaron Rodgers, so a pretty impressive sample size there. Of course, this is all to say that you've got 2 quarterbacks sitting there, the MVPs for the last 2 seasons in the NFL, which are Patrick Mahomes and last year's MVP Lamar Jackson of the Baltimore Ravens. Neither of them has played even 5 years in the league right now. So they are names for a future argument.
Yep.
And I'm sure they will be absolutely there. If you look at Mahomes' career record numbers right now, just ridiculous.
Yeah.
Lamar Jackson had a absolutely phenomenal year last year. So without question, those 2 guys will be in the argument in future years. Mm-hmm. But it is an interesting argument that maybe Russell Wilson deserves a little bit more love.
Totally.
I do remember seeing, I think it was a Twitter comment that I saw that whole Bill Belichick, his comments about Russell Wilson. And there did seem to be, this is Twitter, it's social media.
Yep.
So there's always dissenters with any big grandiose statement. So a lot of people said, no, he's not the greatest quarterback in the game right now. The numbers speak otherwise, though, and he is having a phenomenal start to this season. I think I've always had a bit of love for Russell Wilson, though, because he's an undersized quarterback.
Yeah.
And you just don't, he's not the prototypical, 6'4", 220, like a Tom Brady or a Peyton Manning, the prototypical quarterback size. And he gets it done with his legs, his head, and his arm. Mm-hmm. I can't get enough of watching this guy play, and I think it's so cool that Bill Belichick just was over the moon talking about him. And part of me actually, when I saw those quotes, I thought, is this Bill Belichick playing games?
Yeah.
Is he playing mind games with Russell Wilson? Butter him up a little bit, make him feel really good about himself, and then you just blitz him.
Yeah.
And that's the end. No. 5 touchdown passes for Russell Wilson, torching the New England Patriots. And even post-game, Bill Belichick had nothing but glowing things to say about Russell Wilson. Just kind of like, he's really good.
And he would know a thing or two about identifying really good quarterbacks. And I think that was only like the 4th meeting between the Patriots and the Seahawks under Bill Belichick. So probably only the 3rd or 4th time that he's actually seen Russell Wilson in play. I think the last time, and it's in our intro, Malcolm Butler.
Yes.
The pick right at the goal line in Super Bowl, I don't know what it would have been, 4 years ago or something like that, to give the Patriots
their 2015 or 2016.
Yes, their second last, because they've won one since.
Yeah.
So he hasn't really had a lot of FaceTime with Russell Wilson. But I mean, the numbers, and again, very small sample size, he pretty much has the same number of incomplete passes that he has touchdowns this year. It's 11 incomplete passes versus 9 touchdowns in 2 games for an 80% completion rate. That's absolutely astronomical.
Ridiculous.
And obviously, that's going to fizzle out, but a pretty impressive 2-game start to the season. Coming again, like I said, from someone who knows a whole lot about the quarterback position. Brady and Manning will always be linked for their success, not only in the regular season, great numbers, but in the postseason as well. Brady with a record 6 Super Bowls. We've had the sort of young up-and-comers who have shown flashes of brilliance, and then the really exceptional ones like Mahomes and Jackson, who are going to be good for years to come. But Wilson is one of those sort of sleeper guys. And then we look back afterwards at their resume, and you go, whoa, this guy was here the whole time, putting up really, really good numbers.
You
and
look at the numbers.
Day, the stats don't lie.
Yeah, you look at the numbers, and you're like, man, we really were sleeping on this guy. But, incredible, and looking forward to seeing him continue and possibly win his first MVP. I think that was actually where that conversation came out of, because he somehow has not won an MVP yet in his career. Maybe this year. He's having a phenomenal start. We shall see where it goes from here. Mike, we're going to finish off with a little audio from Jimmy Kimmel. I don't know if you saw this, hosting the Emmy Awards. Yeah. Of course, Canadian comedy Schitt's Creek cleaned up at the awards last night. And Jimmy took the opportunity to take a little dig at hockey and Canada.
Throw some shade.
We'll talk to you next week on Cabin Sports Radio.
I don't know about you, but I've had enough of this Canadian stuff. The Canadians have won all the Emmys tonight, which, Canada only has like 200 people in it. As of tonight, 1 out of every 4 living Canadians has an Emmy Award. Schitt's Creek won 7 of them. Unfortunately, they fell just short. This is a killer. If they'd won 1 more Emmy, they would have been able to trade them in for this, a Stanley Cup. But they didn't, so we're going to keep it here for another 27 years. Sorry, Canada.